If the bacteria from a walker's mouth when it bites you is so strong and so poisonous, so deadly, it'll kill you within 48 hours, why are they all covering themselves in walker guts constantly on this show? How is that not poisonous to you? Hi, welcome to Gracie Talks. My name's Gracie. We're doing zombies today. We're specifically going to be looking at The Walking Dead and The Last of Us. You know I love survival shows. I love both of those shows. I was going to try to do one on what are the chances that you would survive in The Walking Dead universe. I haven't really found a way to pinpoint that specifically, so instead we're going to look at would you have a better chance of surviving in The Walking Dead universe or The Last of Us universe. We're going to look at how the zombie virus actually works in both of those shows, get into the technicalities of that, and then also just talk about surviving the world in general. For anyone that's new here, thank you for being here. Quick disclaimer, I love both of these shows. I'm going to make fun of them. I'm going to do it in a loving way. I am not actually trying to beat the source material within an inch of its life. I just love doing really, really deep dives into stuff and just swimming around in the world and seeing what's up. So that's what we're going to do. Spoilers for everything, Walking Dead, Last of Us. I did watch both of these TV shows. I have seen the first season of Last of Us, loved it. I watched seasons 1 through 5 of Walking Dead before kind of falling off on that one a little bit, sorry. As always, I did significant research for this video, but there simply is not time to watch 10 seasons of a show, read every single original source material, and then make a 20-minute video. It just doesn't make sense. So if I get anything wrong, I am so sorry. I do take this seriously. Let me know in the comments. We are trying to do this right. Okay, let's do it. So Walking Dead, Last of Us, you have to be dropped into one of those TV shows now. Which one do you think that you would have a better shot of surviving it? This is what gave me the video idea, what started this, is I started thinking, how does the zombie virus actually work within these shows? Because they're all kind of different, right? So starting with Walking Dead, the actual virus that infected everybody, stay with me, everybody in this world is infected. So you're dropped into this world, boom, you're infected off the bat. The Violet and Primrose teams made what was called the wildfire virus in a French laboratory, and it accidentally got out and infected everyone. It was discovered by the CDC in 2010. There are multiple variants of it now. Every person in this world got infected with it, and when you die, you become this zombified version of yourself. The reanimation time takes from 3 minutes to 8 hours. 8 hours is the longest one that it's ever took. They have not found a cure for the wildfire virus. However, they did find that by using chlorine gas, they could slow the reanimation time, the time in between you dying and then you becoming this zombie. If they use chlorine gas, they can slow it down. It'll take about 8 hours instead. So progress, but still no cure. The only way to kill a zombie is to destroy the brain. Anything else, that brain's gonna keep doing what it can do. You have to kill the brain. Now, I know this next bit, some of y'all are already angry about. I went deep into Reddit and all sorts of forums, finding information about this, trying to make sure that it was accurate the way that I was reading it. And I understood that a lot of people are really angry about this as well. The zombie bite does not infect you. In The Walking Dead, everybody's infected. How you become a zombie is just whenever you die, then you're gonna wake up as a zombie. So people were thinking that if you got bitten by a walker, what they call them in The Walking Dead, that is what turned you into a zombie. It doesn't. The bite just kills you. Stay with me. You're bitten by a corpse. The person that is walking around and is zombified, they are already dead. They have the virus because they had it when they died. Now they are dead, but their brain is reanimated as this zombie. So it is a corpse. We are asked to believe that the amount of bacteria that would be in a corpse's mouth, when it gets you, you die within 48 hours pretty much. I don't think I rock with that. It's supposed to be so poisonous, so full of bacteria, that you're gonna die within 48 hours, and then you die and then you wake up as a walker. So everyone was thinking that the bites were infecting people. It's not. This is why if you do get bitten by a walker, if they cut off the body part that you were bitten in, you can still survive, like Herschel. It seems like I'm harping on this. There is a point that I'm trying to make. Walk with me. If the bacteria from a walker's mouth when it bites you is so strong and so poisonous, so deadly, it'll kill you within 48 hours. Why are they all covering themselves in walker guts constantly on this show? How is that not poisonous to you? The walker guts should be killing them as well, right? Am I crazy? And you could argue that maybe it's not entering the bloodstream. You're telling me that this group of people does not have a single paper cut on them? Nobody has a single cut, a single score on their flesh that those guts are getting into when they do like the walker camouflage, which is putting the walker guts all over themselves? I don't buy that. The show did do this a couple times. I had stopped watching by this point, but I did research on it. Apparently season 8, Negan uses swords that are covered in walker guts and attacks people that way, but it does infect them, not with the walker virus. They already have the walker virus, the wildfire virus, but it infects them with the bacteria and they end up dying from the bacteria infection. So apparently there was an exception with a storyline with Gabriel and a storyline with Negan where they did adhere to the rules of the bacteria being so dangerous that it would poison you and you would die, but I'm not feeling like it's consistent. Everybody already has the virus, you just want to stay alive. The walker bacteria is so deadly it'll kill you within 48 hours. Okay. The walkers move so slowly. in this show that I'm gonna pick Walking Dead over Last of Us. Those guys are zooming. The infected in The Last of Us are just flying. So I'm gonna take Walking Dead in terms of not being killed by a zombie. In terms of the general world, the biggest fear then just becomes don't die, because if you die, you're going to become a walker as well. Once you move through with the seasons, you have a decent amount of, okay, we have settlements, we have colonies sort of coming together. There's an order to the world. You can find places that are relatively safe. However, they ultimately always seem to end up getting attacked or people being too greedy or nefarious. So your biggest enemy is just going to be the total depravity of man, I guess. And if that ain't the truth. So yeah, the threats are going to be the walkers, other humans. Also, medical care would then be huge if the whole goal is I just can't die and, you know, a bacteria infection from a walker will ruin my life in 48 hours. You got to be real careful not to get pneumonia or anything. Once they move to the settlements and the colonies, it seems like people are getting medical care to do stuff like that. We're going to move to Last of Us in a second. I figured it was easier to just stay within one franchise and then move the other, and then we will discuss both of them in totality. In the Walking Dead universe, there is no cure for the virus. They did find out that the chlorine gas will slow your reanimation time. Not super helpful. And then the other tidbit they found is that radiation can stop a walker bite from killing you. So it stops the bacteria from infecting you, but then the radiation kills you. Still not helpful. Hey, we're losing the plot. I want to not die. No cure, they haven't found a way. Apparently where they are at now with the shows, because they have all of these spin-offs, all of these other shows, they're still making them. Apparently we just got this reveal. So if you do not want to know spoilers about things that are happening right now in the universe, skip ahead 20 seconds. They've been working on something with fungus to speed up the decay of the walkers. So it could sort of mass get rid of all of the walkers at once. And then potentially it could also cure the virus, but it's really up in the air right now. So that's gonna be the state of the zombie world in Walking Dead. We're gonna get to Last of Us in a second. Before we move on from Walking Dead, real quick, I started watching this show when there were 2 seasons out. This question has haunted me from the moment that I started watching the show, and I finally did enough research to come up with the answer. But it's the fact that they're using cars in the show that are running on gasoline. Gasoline expires. How are they getting around in these cars? If we're talking about a regular car and regular gasoline, and by regular car, I mean it's not a car from like the 50s or something, okay? It would be a car from the 2000s and you're using regular gasoline that you would get at some sort of pump. Yes, you can siphon gasoline from other cars, you could siphon it from the pump, you can put the gasoline in the car. That gasoline will expire in months. It's been years since the outbreak in the show. Apparently, you can use expired gasoline in a car and it will run on the expired gasoline. It's just that over time, it will mess up the car's I was about to say the car's internal organs, but in that world, it still works. The car will still run on it. You're just gonna have to keep switching it out for other cars, which you would be doing anyway. So that answers that question. Really old cars or also potentially tractors can run on expired gasoline without being mucked up because of the way that they were built. Alternatively, Mythbusters did an episode where they were able to run a car on moonshine and it worked. Lastly, you could make your own gasoline. One last thing on Walking Dead. I've always said on this channel that because it's not monetized, I will not talk about ships because I cannot be catching strays for free. And shipping wars were not a joke. I was on Tumblr in 2012. It was a scary place. But baby girl, fret not because this channel got monetized. We're talking about ships now. Beth and Daryl. I never personally shipped Beth and Daryl. Let me explain it to people that don't know what I'm talking about. There were so many edits, fan fictions, all of it, for Beth and Daryl to be together in that show. Daryl was supposed to be what, like 30s, 40s? Beth is a high schooler when we meet her. I think she's supposed to be 18 by about the season 3 era. And keep in mind that also the actress that played her was like 29 to 31 in that like season 3 to season 5 range where people really started shipping her with Daryl. So technically legal. I'm not defending it. I just want you to know all of the facts. My main focus when watching it, my main ship, was Lori and Rick. You have a love triangle with John Bernthal? I mean, Lori and Rick. I loved it. I was devastated when she died. I wanted to stop watching the show. I was so devastated when Lori died. But then Beth came along. I told you that I wouldn't catch strays for free, but I am monetized now. Beth and Rick. Okay, I said it. Only once it was age appropriate. Only once it was well, it's never age appropriate. Only when it was legal and not in a creepy way. And a lot of the fan fiction also aged them up to make things a little bit better. Whatever. I'm not proud of that, by the way. But I do have to admit that that was one of my top ships for the show. I wanted Lori for Rick first. I was Lori first. They got rid of her. What's a girl to do? The fun part about that is I have no idea if I'm gonna leave that in the video or not. We're doing Last of Us now. The zombies, I know there are specific terms that you would use for each one. The infected in Last of Us are truly so scary. They can run. Out. Picking Walking Dead, I'm gonna go to that one for that reason alone. The virus in The Last of Us was a mutated strain of the cordyceps fungus that spread in the US in late September of 2013. It was carried into humans from infected crops. There are 4 stages of the infection, depending on how long you make it once you have been infected. The virus can only infect an alive person because it's a parasite, so it needs an alive host. But you, if you're alive and walking around, could still get infected from a dead infected. The dead infected would still have spores on them, infected spores. In the video game, they are airborne spores. So everybody has on gas masks, and that's 100% you need that gas mask if you're going to be walking around because the air contains the spores that could infect you. I like that. I rock with it. It's high stakes. If I'm deciding between that one and Walking Dead, I'm going to have to do Walking Dead World then. Because at least Walking Dead, I can still walk around, breathe fresh air. Probably going to pick Walking Dead. However, in the TV show, it is not airborne spores. Why is that? I don't know. Because maybe if you pay for Pedro Pascal's face to be in a show, you're not going to put a mask on it. You are going to keep that man straight to camera. They said we are not going to do what the Batman franchise did to Tom Hardy. It's a massive change. They still kept the stakes high because it basically ended up being that in the show, instead of being airborne spores, there are like tendrils that come out of the fungus. The fungus is a growing alive thing. So if I'm just walking somewhere minding my own business and I step on a fungus that's connected to an infected far away from me, that infected knows where I am, knows that I stepped on it. So it's still sort of a, you could trigger them at any point in time. They will come get you and they move so fast. Between that and Walking Dead, I think I stand a better chance in Walking Dead. It is so scary the way that the infected move and The Last of Us and the little tendrils creepy. Focusing back on the infection, the logistics of how this is working within The Last of Us, it's airborne spores in the video game. In the TV show, you become infected by ingestion. Ingestion would include the tendrils coming out and latching onto you. Okay, there's ingestion, fluid to fluid contact, bites, anything of that nature is the way that you can get infected. How do you kill an infected? Any way that you would kill a normal person would kill an infected because they're just a person walking around who has been infected, as opposed to Walking Dead where you have to kill the brain. That would be a point in The Last of Us column then, because just any normal trauma enough to kill a human person is going to kill an infected. So 1 point to Last of Us. In Walking Dead, remember, the walkers will keep going. They will keep going until you shut that brain off. In Last of Us, the infected will eventually die because of the infection. It'll kill them eventually, but it could take years to do that. And so that's where they move through these 4 stages of infection and become really scary. There is no cure in The Last of Us either. So that puts Walking Dead and Last of Us kind of even playing field. However, Ellie Belly, R.I.P. to Tommy and Molly May, by the way. Does anybody here know what that is? What's the Venn diagram of Love Island UK? And then a technical breakdown where I studied how infections work within the bloodstream to talk about the zombie virus in Walking Dead and Last of Us. What's the Venn diagram? Who else is with me in the middle on that? Back to business. Ellie is immune because when her mother was giving birth, she was bitten by an infected. So the cordyceps fungus, a mutated strain of that, grew in Ellie because Ellie was still connected to her mother when her mother was bitten. So she has this mutated strain of it. So she is immune to being infected. She could still die via other ways. She's immune to it. Take whatever she's got, take that mutated strain and make a vaccine, right? Wrong. The cordyceps fungus grows in the brain, so you would have to kill Ellie to get to the brain cordyceps fungus and then make a vaccine with her mutated strain of it, which means that eventually it's going to be cured. Whenever she dies, get that brain. This is also going to be another point to Last of Us. I feel more hopeful about the fact that eventually whenever Ellie leaves us, which I don't want to happen. I love Ellie and Joel. The found family thing, it gets me every time. Love Ellie so much. Whenever she leaves us, get that brain. I feel way more hopeful about that vaccine than I do about the cure that they're working on in Walking Dead. Walking Dead, it's like they're not even trying. Hey, can you cure the virus? No, but I could kill you with radiation. Thanks. I'm not a scientist, by the way. Joel is not going to let you kill Ellie, not on his watch. Season 1 finale. Banger of an episode. So in terms of how the zombie virus actually works, I think I stand a better chance in surviving Walking Dead. I'm going to be infected already, but in terms of not being killed by a walker, turning into a walker, I think I stand a better chance in Walking Dead. In terms of the overall world, with Walking Dead, the settlements in the colonies seem decently safe. Safe enough, and there's a world order, and it's not complete anarchy. In The Last of Us, there's Fedra, which is basically the new government organization. So you have Fedra, and then you have the Rebellion, which is people fighting against it, and that is getting really dicey. The political violence between those groups is getting really, really tough. So I would also say Walking Dead in terms of just the societal order. I'm probably going to pick Walking Dead as well. Walking Dead, where it gets dangerous, is if you're traveling. Traveling, rogue groups, the depravity of man, as we've discussed, that's dangerous, but I think I'm just gonna find a good colony, somewhere that like makes their own shampoo and stuff so I can still wash my hair. I try to do this for the survivability videos, the overall death rate. What are your chances of dying based on how many people have actually died in the movie or TV show or whatever? For Walking Dead and Last of Us, the overall named characters list and the overall death list, they come from 2 different places where I get them from, and then I put everything in Excel and do the math that way. The list of named characters that we had from Walking Dead was 270, and then the list of deaths, also the named characters for the death list, was 480. That doesn't work. That's a 200% death rate. doesn't work. So I had to find a different way to do it. And I just pulled out what I could. This is the best estimate. I'm not happy with some of the assumptions that I had to make to get these calculations, but I did still pull all of the data, work through them. Best effort on this. The death rate for Walking Dead was 32%, and the death rate for The Last of Us was 21%. That would say that you would want to be in The Last of Us universe if you were just any character that's dropped into this world, 20% likely to die in Last of Us, 30% likely to die in Walking Dead. But again, I don't think the assumptions were well made on that. I think overall I'm picking Walking Dead. I do. I'm picking Walking Dead. Keep in mind, I'm coming from a place of which one do I think I have a higher chance of surviving in, not which one would I rather be in terms of like vibes. Because vibes, I'm going Last of Us. But vibes can only get you so far. And that's my survivability report on The Walking Dead and Last of Us. If you're here watching this, thank you so much. I love you. Take care of yourselves. Also, I got married. So it took me a little bit longer to get this video up. Okay, bye. Love you.